All right, guys, so if you've seen my other videos, you know I'm doing a lot of work on this boat. If you haven't seen my other videos, subscribe and you'll see at the end of this build, I'm going to go ahead and post one long video of a little bit of everything I've done. Up till now, I've only posted a couple of very small clips on different parts of the boat. What I'm working on now is I'd like to mount a fish finder to the front of the boat. I'm going to put my main unit, my Garmin mapping unit there at the console. But I've also got this, I've just got it laying around, this little Humminbird unit, and I might as well use it. So I think I'd like to mount that here and run the transducer off the trolling motor. The problem with that is I don't have the proper mount. So I got online and it looks like the cheapest place I can get it is Amazon, a generic Humminbird trolling motor transducer mount. All it is a couple of big pipe clamps and a little bracket. And they want like 20 bucks for it. It's like 19 bucks something, I think, with tax. I hate to pay that just for a little bracket. I mean, you almost don't need the bracket, but this thing will get to wobbling. And so what I'm thinking is, it's because this is a round surface and the bracket on the trolling motor or on the transducer is flat. So what I'm thinking is I could take a piece of rubber hose. I've got this laying around. I think it's old fire hose. I got a coil of it laying up in the barn loft. I'm thinking I shave this down because it's really thick rubber. That's got to be 3/8 of an inch thick. So I'm thinking I'll shave this down and make a big flat spot on, maybe 3/4 or an inch wide flat spot. Directly across from that, I'll slit it open and I'll stuff that on there, and that'll kind of, hopefully, I'll be able to kind of, I don't know, sand it and mold it and make it to where there's a, where the rubber will grip on the trolling motor body and it'll have a flat spot enough for that bracket to sit on it nice, and then wrap a big pipe clamp around the whole thing. So I'm going to start sanding. I'm going to sand a flat spot on this. I don't want to sand all the way through, because I don't want it to open up. So I'm going to start tinkering with this, and I'll show you what I come up with. I should have said this already. I've never tried anything like this before, so you're going to be learning with me. Okay, so I was using a pneumatic sander with 80 grit paper on it, and it makes the finest orange dust off of this orange fire hose. So what I did was I sanded a little strip on it, and that didn't line up that didn't work real well, because as soon as I opened it up, it was thicker on the edges. So I had to sand a real wide strip. And if I hold that up there with one hand, now that strip is about the width of the transducer. You can see where I've marked about 1/8 of an inch on each side of the transducer bracket. So that'll leave me full thickness out here, which is probably 3/8 of an inch thick on the edge. It might be 1/4 on the inside or on the middle, and 3/8 on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and cut on those lines. All right, so I trimmed it, and I just don't quite like how it fits on the bottom of the trolling motor yet. So I'm going to take a little bit off the inside of it. So I flexed it backwards, put it in my vise, and I'm going to thin this down right across the center here. All right, well, I hope you can see kind of what we're doing here. We're getting skinny in the middle, but we're staying fat on the edge. And I think we're getting pretty close. It's ugly, but, we're going to try it. We'll get a big old pipe clamp. I think I got one. I probably should have made sure I had one that big. All right, well, it's on there. And it's on there good. I mean, rocking the whole boat, and this thing ain't budging. So when I'm tightening it down, the only thing that I really notice that kind of concerns me is how much pressure it puts on the outside of the bracket and not so much on the inside. But given that this rubber is going to allow for some bumps and wiggles and flex and stuff like that, I think I'm kind of happy with it. It looks pretty goofy, but man, it's on there really, really well. I mean, it don't wiggle. So I think full send here, folks. I'm going to go ahead and tidy this wire up. I'm really kind of happy with how this turned out. Pretty clean looking. So I've got my transducer on there. Ran the wire. I fastened it to the motor itself, then to the bottom of the shaft, the middle of the shaft, and the top of this lower portion. So then this portion slides. So I don't want to fasten anything to that because it could move at some point. I've left a little bit of slack here and then fastened it to the frame of the thing. And the reason that I left the slack in there, as I stand here and turn it with my foot, you can see that I need that slack to allow the thing to turn. So from here to the frame, this area could move, or does move. So frame with zip ties here, and pretty tight. I don't want this wire sliding. Again, down here, these are existing holes in the frame of this thing. And then again, I allowed myself some slop here, and that is to allow this thing to go up. This is gonna be hard to do with one hand. You can see how much that stretches. So now that wire is almost tight there. I don't want it to become tight at any point. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're wiring it up, that this thing moves. So then I've fastened it to the deck here, brought it again down to the deck. I go up under and attach it. I'm using these little cable clamps, 1/4-inch cable clamps. Pick these up at Lowe's hardware store. I'm not thrilled with them. They're not flexible at all. They're very brittle, and if you over tighten your screw, you'll split the thing out. So I'm not real happy with that, but if you're careful, they do make a kind of a tidy look. They allow it to move a little bit, so I used a couple of very small zip ties here, one on either side of the clamp, to keep the wire from moving back and forth through the clamp. So bring it over here, up underneath, pretty tidy. It just peeks out under here, goes into the back of the unit, and then again the power wire goes back down underneath. You can kind of see it peeking out there if you're looking for it, and then disappears, goes over to the console. And I'm just finishing up wiring up everything on this boat. So this has been it's been a heck of a project and kind of a mess here. Well, here's the finished product on the wiring. So you can see the fish finder looks real good there, mounted up, wires tucked away. I tested this motor the other night. I ran it for about 20 minutes, just ran it dry, you know, lowered it down to make sure nothing funny would happen with the mount and anything. It was nice and solid, didn't wiggle at all, so I'm real happy with that. So I think we're gonna have real good results out of that. Well guys, I figured I'd just go ahead and finish this video out on the water, let you know that everything's functioning great. I've been out here fishing for a few hours. I've got the transducer for this front fish finder mounted on the bottom of it again, and everything's functioning perfectly. So I'm real happy with this. If I helped you with this, click that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button. And until the next video guys, keep on tinkering.